Well, hey there, YouTube. Another day, another conversation. Good morning. I am going to talk today about some of what I would call the secrets of having a healthy marriage after having babies. Now, hopefully, if you've already had kids, you can probably confirm this. You may have either done this right, done this wrong, or done this differently. And I'm not going to say my way is the right way. I'm just going to say what worked. So keep in mind, the idea is you're trying to strengthen and be the best husband, or if you're a wife, this is one of those things that maybe you can encourage your husband to do. But as soon as you get to that point, you're like, let's have a baby, or maybe that happens unexpectedly, but you're excited, you're scared, you're nervous, and this is the first probably, unless you have a death in the family or a move or something major, job change, but creating a life is the most precious thing you can do in this world. It's the only thing you really can create that wasn't already there, from materials that you didn't have. So we're not talking building a farm here, we're talking about making a human being that's going to live and last longer than you are. And it's kind of like they say your legacy, or however you raise that child, but that's basically a part of you. And so it's a big deal. A lot of men that I've talked to are early and they're young, and you get selfish, and I think you're born selfish, and you continue that path, and you just kind of shave off the rough edges, but you still are this selfish to the core person. Now, if you've accepted Jesus in your life, then I believe that you would have more of a change, and you would be much less selfish in trying to strive to be better like he would want you to be. But either way, this isn't necessarily about faith as much as it's about how to get on track with what works in a marriage. I will tell you from experience, I've been married twice and still currently married. And so the first time I got married was also for the right reasons. We had the same faith. We had the same kind of likes with what we wanted in family. We talked about that before we even started getting really serious. I asked her, I was like, do you want kids? And she's like, yes. We met at a kids camp. So, of course, I liked kids as well. So that was kind of an easy one. So 2 years into the marriage, we're, riding bikes together and going on trips together and doing all the fun stuff. And we realized we kind of hit the end of the road as far as what we could do together that was adventurous without children. And we really wanted to have a family and go do family things. So we tried, and right away got pregnant. And then our first out the gate, as we would say, chance to have a baby, we got pregnant, but then we had a miscarriage a few months later. And that was I would say our first devastating hardship that we went through. So the first piece of advice is, if that happens to you or to your wife, what you need to do as a guy, this is something that you will never understand, and you will say stuff stupidly if you just open your mouth and be like, well, we can always try again, or oh well, it wasn't meant to be. There's all these things that you want to say to try to help, and don't say any of those things. It is okay to hug your wife and cry with her and just tell her, I'm so sorry. And that's all you say. You don't say anything more than that. Because as a male, oftentimes we try to fix things. That's what we do. That's how we're made. So a woman says, this is how things went at work, and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, well, you should do this, or why don't you try that? Or I would try this. And then they look at you like you're crazy, because a lot of times, all they're wanting to do is vent and just let it out and relive the situation and get angry about it, and then it goes away, I guess, to them. Whereas us males, we're like, just fix the problem and then it's over. I don't understand. But it's because we're different. Men and women are built differently. So just like with a miscarriage situation, if you happen to be in that, you need to raise your compassion to an 11. Because emotionally, she's going through a lot of feelings that you're never going to understand. And all I know is we need to be very patient. And when she's ready again to discuss having a baby again or try, then that's when you want to go with that. But just understand, there are women really can struggle with having a miscarriage, and we males won't understand that, and that's okay. We're not meant to. It's not that we are incapable of love or we don't have deep feelings. It's not true at all. We just have never had life living inside of us and suddenly stop. So we will never understand. But we can try to do our best to be compassionate and loving and kind and help along that way. And so my wife and I worked through that, or my first wife, but we were married then. So we worked through that. We got through that together, and then I want to say 3 months later, we got pregnant again with now my son. And so I remember someone having some advice for me about with the babies, and they were like, or when you're going through that, they're like, hey, make sure you know, help your wife too, and don't just think babies are a man's thing, or I'm sorry, babies are a woman's thing. And I was like, yeah, you know, you're right. And I like children anyway, but like my dad, he was more the guy that's like the old school kind of dad that he loved us as kids, but he's like, when you're little kids, your mom needs to do all this stuff because I'm not like built for this stuff. I like to play and do a little bit of things, but like once you hit like 10, 12, that's when you're like mine. And then kind of like it switched. The dynamic was, you know, more of my dad did a lot of stuff and my mom took us everywhere and was there, but you're a man or going to become a man, so it makes sense that the man would be like doing more like man stuff and taking you hunting and fishing and all these other things that my mom maybe had no interest in. But in this situation, when your wife is pregnant, you want to go to every single one of those doctor appointments that they've got. There's a lot of them. You want to go to all those that you can. Now, when you get down to the end, sometimes there's like one, she's like, I got to go again this week or something. They're just going to check. And she's like, and you don't need to come. Most of the time, if a wife says you don't need to come, that means that you don't need to come. Unless she's playing games with you, and that's a whole different situation. But, yeah, I say what you need to do is be there. This is your baby, too. And so you need to spend time with your wife. The pregnancy time is, you know, I'll tell you, really unique because some women get really like nauseous and get morning sickness like right away. And I'll tell you, if you're trying to figure out if they're pregnant or not, this is one thing I figured out on my own is because I'm not like the knowledgeable guy on all this stuff really, but I will tell you what works. She was like, man, you smell that? It smells like someone's cooking like barbecue. And you drive like 6 miles and someone has like this little like bag of like barbecue chips on the side of the road and you're like, and then you drive down a little bit more. She's like, do you smell like French fries? I'm like, maybe. And so like 5 miles down the road, there's like this little smokestack of like, you know, Burger King. And you're just like, how are you smelling all this? She's like, don't you smell that? It's like, there's dog poop on your shoe. And I'm like, we don't even have a dog, but okay. And that's your first clue for me that I'm like, nah, I think you're getting superhero powers, which means you're probably pregnant. And they're like, no, I can't be pregnant. And then boom, she was pregnant. Both, or actually several times. So all that to say, that's exactly how I figured that out. But once you're there, when you're going to have the baby, I was nauseous, nervous, and I'm just the dad. But I was so like scared because I was worried something was going to happen. And she ended up having like, while we were doing the delivery of the baby, her heart started like freaking out and they had to get over, like it went down to like, I forget her heart level. I think it actually almost pretty much stopped. So they had to give her epinephrine and like all these people rushed in and like she was like coding and I'm like freaking out. And so I had been already kind of nervous and anxious because, you know, the baby's a big deal. And so I was just kind of like drinking Pepto-Bismol for most of the day because I just needed my stomach to not feel nauseous because I just couldn't handle it. And so that was like one of the things I brought with me to the hospital. I was like, I'm just going to bring Pepto-Bismol because I knew I had a nervous stomach. And I'm glad I did, but people thought I was crazy, but I think I finished like the whole bottle. It was just, you know, I was so nervous. And I guess rightfully so, because like I said, she almost like just dropped on that. And they had to kind of like, she didn't stop breathing, but I mean, they had to, like I said, give her epinephrine and they were worried about the baby. Like, we got to get the baby out and all this stuff. And so I'm telling you, like, you never know how exactly this is going to work. But I would say that you're on that adventure if you're going to go there, or you're already on it. And you just got to live and enjoy the moments. Love that your wife is pregnant. Enjoy the pregnancy part of it. If she's miserable, do whatever you can to make her comfortable. But the key is when they have babies. Once they have the baby, I mean, they change. Like, you know, like in a relationship, you're like, I'm number one, and you're like the coolest thing ever, and she loves you. And when that baby comes, you quickly turn into the second priority of all things, and you're not like important to her at that moment anymore compared to what you're used to. I mean, think about it from your perspective. If you have her all the time and now you have her half the time, that means you're half as important. So in your selfish mind, you know, which we're all that way, especially in that marriage part where it's just you and her, it's hard to be like, hey, I want time with you. We used to hang out and do these things, watch a show, have sex, whatever we're doing. And so you don't get those times anymore. And she is exhausted because usually if she's breastfeeding, she's going to be breastfeeding, and you don't have breasts, so you can't help. But that's where the help ends for you of not being able to. you can totally change a diaper. You can change the baby's clothes. You can wash the baby when you need to. If she pumps, which is awesome, if she can, then you can put the formula in, or I'm sorry, the breast milk or formula, whatever you got to do, in bottles and feed the baby. You can just lay there and hold the baby or sit there. But I will tell you, I have so many friends that are guys that did my wife and I never hang out, and and so they kind of like started getting bitter and angry towards their wives because they started off on a downward spiral, and when they had those kids, they just kept like distancing themselves and playing video games and isolating and working in the garage and not spending any time with their wife because they wanted to do their own thing, and they just kind of got used to their wife not being around. And those guys' marriages got worse and worse and worse over the years. Where mine, I took the advice my friend said, he said, make sure you help out your wife. What I didn't realize is when you help out your wife and take care of your child, you will have a relationship that is built now on, I'm doing something to help you because I know you're tired and I love you, and so I'm just going to step in as a guy and figure this out, because again, it's my kid too, so I'm fully capable of doing everything. So I was up doing, she'd pumped, and we also had to do formula sometimes, and so I was feeding the babies, I was changing the babies, I was up at night, we took shifts. Sometimes we did like, okay, I'll take this shift from 8 p.m. to like 3 a.m. and then you get the rest. And so, or we did nights. We found that I think nights worked better for us. I'll take Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you take the other ones, kind of deal. And so that way she gets a break, because you're going to be, as a male, you're going to have like this. Think about it logically. You went all this time without, you could have unlimited sex whenever you wanted it, and then it's like on demand. And then all of a sudden now she's pregnant and she might be nauseous, so she doesn't want to. Now you're like second trimester, sometimes they get horny as a rabbit, and then that's like great again. And then after that, the third one, they're kind of miserable. So they're not, because they're, about to have a baby, so they don't want you. And so then you're like, okay, so you've had like maybe 2 to 3 months of barely having any sex at all. So you're just like, you're young and you're just dying, like, oh. So then she's exhausted when she has the baby, and her body's just gone through a whole bunch of stuff. And you're just like, okay, but can we have sex now? Like, that's the selfishness, right? So I don't remember if it was like a couple weeks after. It was pretty soon we tried, because she wanted to have sex too. But the thing is that you want to do something like, you got to, I don't want to say earns the wrong way, but you want to like show how much you love that person by spending your time helping them with everything you can, and doing laundry and stuff, and kind of like work as a team. And I promise you, the look that you'll get in her eyes when you're holding that baby and you're feeding it, or you're changing it and doing something and she can sleep, when she wakes up and she gets her rest, she is going to be all over you. And that's awesome. That's how it's supposed to work. You do things for her, and she'll miss you too, but she'll know. You think she'd be like, well, he wants to have sex? That's kind of weird. I thought once we had babies we didn't do that. No, that's insane. But you help her out, and it'll pay dividends for you in the bedroom, because she'll be like, wow, he really loves me and cares about me, and now I've slept enough and I'm aware enough of reality to want and desire you again. And then because you did something selflessly, that for whatever reason just makes it that much better. So as a guy, take my advice. I promise you, unless you have a terrible relationship, or your woman that you married is just not an understanding, kind person, and you don't have a good relationship, then this really will work for you. It's kind of magical. I did this both times, and it totally paid off. Where we were, whenever I'm trying to remember, there was complications with the first one, and then when we had the second one, there was no complications. And I think she was basically asking the doctor, when we were even having the babies, when could we have sex again? Like that was like the relationship we had. So it's just, you're married and it's fun and it's what you're supposed to do. It's a union and a bond, right? And so they miss it too, and especially do everything you can for them, man. I can't emphasize that enough. So get in there, understand the babies, change the diapers. If you don't know sizes of clothes, you'll figure it out. There's newborns and 0 to 3 months and all this stuff. You may have a big baby, a small baby, just love that kid. And then, like I said, the looks, man, I'll never forget. When you're holding your wife's baby, which is your baby, but they see it as theirs, of course. And so they're seeing that you holding it and loving on it. Man, I mean, it gets them going. And that's not like, I'm not trying to be mean or what's the word, inappropriate, but that's just the truth. A young, virile woman seeing her baby being loved and cared for and nurtured by the love of her life is just attractive to them extremely. And so you go from either like separating and being all like, oh, you do your thing, I'll catch you later, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is you wanted the baby in the first place. This is your problem. You go to that mentality, you'll reap what you sow. You go, hey, we did this together. I love you. I'm going to help you with this baby. This is our kid. We did this. We wanted this. Or if not, well, here we are. And this is going to be great because we're going to have a positive attitude and figure this out together because we're a team. And that's going to reap completely different benefits. So take my advice. If you have questions on any of that stuff, I've had this channel for a long time. I've had people ask me all kinds of different questions, and I really, really try to answer all of them. And I may, like I said, if you make a comment that's something that I think that's actually is a conversation topic, I'll make a video on it. I can just mention you and say, hey, this so-and-so had this question, here it is. So I'll probably give another talk about some of the stuff with children as you raise them and things that I've learned. But if you guys have any questions whatsoever about that, just remember, please take care of your wife, love her, date her even after you have those kids, because I promise you, you will have an amazing marriage. I had an amazing marriage until alcohol kind of just substance abuse broke us. And that was sad. And I'm just going to say that was not me choosing that or doing that. But that was still 14 years of my life that, I thoroughly enjoyed for the most part. And so, but then I got remarried again, and I was able to find all the things that I wanted in a marriage and fall in love again. We weren't able to have a baby the second time we got, my second wife and I, so we just didn't have a baby, but we were also like 37, so we combined 2 kids and 2 kids, and so that's a lot. 4 is a lot. It's a great number, but you need a different vehicle now. You can't just have a little passenger car like this. So you've got to figure that out. But man, there's something about like, when you create life and you help work together, and in my case, I married a widow and we bonded like nobody can bond, because we were both in a rough spot, but we had a great friendship. And so we kind of started off helping each other out, and then we accidentally fell in love. And I blame her for that. No, just kidding. No, it was totally me. Yeah, I fell in love with her so fast. I wasn't planning to. That was not my end goal. I was divorced, and I was just trying to sift my way through life. And then she kind of came along and wrecked my single future, I guess, that I had almost created there. But I'm so grateful. And so her youngest at the time was 3, which is now my son, because I've adopted them. And so my son was 3, and that's what I got in his life. And I remember holding him and loving on him and helping him fall asleep when he was sick and stuff. And I still remember she gave me that same exact look in her eyes, like, wow, I am very attracted to you right now in this moment. You are such an amazing man. And again, that just pays off in your relationship, where they will love on you in the way you need, and you're loving on them in the way that they didn't even know they needed, because they've never experienced this before. And so get in there, love your baby, know that it's just the coolest thing ever, and it goes quick. My kid is almost 16 and a half, and so, I mean, he's not a baby anymore. He's as big as I am, and that was a very fast window of life. So, like I said, get in there if you want to have kids and have them, but have that conversation before you get married, because if she's like, I want to have like 4 babies, live on a farm, and you're like, I want to live in a high-rise up in New York, you may really want to consider that relationship may not be a good match, or you need to have a change of heart. You can always change your heart, I believe. It's never too late. But if you're just like, I want, it's just never a great way to. It's like going into like 2 countries going after each other with tariffs. Oh, I'm going to give you 35%. Oh yeah, 45%, 55. It's just stupid. But I mean, that's how some people choose to negotiate. But in marriage, it should be, I will give you everything I got. And then the other person says, I will give you everything I got. And when you love someone, you'll do anything for them. Like if my wife needed anything or had to go anywhere or we had to move or whatever it was, I would go there in a second with her, because she's my wife and I love her. So thanks, YouTube, for everything. Please like and subscribe to this channel so we can get ourselves to that 1,000 viewers. Then I'm gonna go live on some of these days just for fun. That way I'll have enough people that I could go live to. They'd be like, oh, this will be fun. And I haven't done that, but I want to explain like how to do monetization and how that works. And I don't have that set up yet. And I also want to be open and real with you guys and tell you how much money a channel can get if you have 1,000 views and a certain amount of views a day or week or whatever. Because mine is like I have 600 and some odd subscribers, 608 maybe. And then I have, I have 2,760 hours of viewing this year. So that's fantastic. That's all you guys. But I'm curious to see what, because you can get paid with YouTube, so I want to see what that looks like. So the next video I'm going to do is going to be in a relationship, understanding love languages, because it's very, very critical. And I want to have that conversation. So thanks, guys, and I will talk to you later.